The top stories tonight in Y News. 8 travelers who arrived in the Philippines from South Africa have not yet been located by health authorities. Meanwhile, top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci said that preliminary findings on the Omicron variant are encouraging.
In a turn of events, presidential aspirant and Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno Dubagoso is publicly showing his support for President Rodrigo Duterte, who is running for a Senate post in the May 2022 national election.
Oil firms are set to implement a big-time rollback in the pump prices of petroleum products, marking the 5th straight week of price rollbacks.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, December 6, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The United States of America is planning to lift travel restrictions as early reports on the severity of Omicron variant appear to be encouraging. Maeve and Dog will tell us why live. Yes, Maeve.
Harleen, U.S. health officials announced on Sunday that the new COVID-19 variant Omicron may be less dangerous than the Delta variant, as hospitalization rates have not increased dramatically. According to the U.S. President's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the variant does not appear to have a great degree of severity to it. Dr. Fauci, however, warns that more information is still needed before conclusions can be drawn on whether it is indeed less severe or does not cause severe illness in comparison to the Delta variant. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, also said that they are currently working in collaboration with public health and academic partners to understand the science of this new variant.
We are continuously monitoring vaccine effectiveness in our real-world surveillance studies and publicly reporting those data. And we are doing an in-depth investigation of the first initial cases of Omicron so that we can understand transmission and severity of Omicron disease. I know that the news is focused on Omicron, but we should remember that 99.9% of cases in the country right now are from the Delta variant. Delta continues to drive cases across the country, especially in those who are unvaccinated.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration is considering lifting travel bans against non-citizens coming from African countries, which were imposed when the outbreak of the new variant was first reported. Dr. Fauci expressed his empathy for South Africa and other African countries and hopes that the bans are lifted in a quite reasonable amount of time. Harleen?
So, Maeve, what is the current status of the COVID-19 cases in the U.S.?
Harleen, at the latest, COVID cases and deaths have dropped by about half since their Delta peak in August and September. But at more than 86,000 new infections per day, their numbers are still quite high. U.S. has about 860 deaths per day and daily reports of more than 6,600 new hospitalizations, according to the CDC. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Maeve and Dog, reporting live from Australia.
The Department of Health confirms that 8 travelers from South Africa arrived in the Philippines, but the department has yet to determine their location. Ayuko Miguel explains why.
Health spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said they are still tracking the whereabouts of the 8 travelers from South Africa who arrived in the Philippines last November 15 to 29. Undersecretary Vergeres also said they are still verifying the remaining 165 travelers, while 76 travelers will undergo retesting.
Of the 253, 80 had been verified and located. 77 of these are returning overseas Filipinos, and 3 are foreign nationals from Region 6. 8 verified but have not been located yet. Of the 4 retested, all were negative, including the 3 foreign nationals and 1 returning overseas Filipino from Region 6, who were retested last December 1.
The DOH said results of the sequence samples among the 3 travelers who tested positive of COVID-19 from South Africa, Burkina Faso in West Africa, and Egypt will be released Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning. There are already over 19,000 samples sequenced in the country. There's no Omicron case detected yet in the Philippines, the DOH reports.
So we have reported out of all of those samples tested in this latest whole genome sequencing run, wala pong na-detect na Omicron variant. Most of the detections were that of Delta variant.
Undersecretary Vergere also said there are early and preprint studies released about the Omicron variant, but further research is still needed.
May lumabas po na artikulo nung isang linggo na sinasabi galing sa South Africa that most of their detections are having mild symptoms. Yun po yung sinasabi nila, no? But again, this has to be supported, no, by enough evidence. These are just reports na galing sa mga pasyenteng nakita nila. Kailangan po talagang pag-aralan pang maigi.
The World Health Organization Philippines said further details on the transmissibility and effect of Omicron variant of concern to COVID-19 vaccines will be clearer in a week or two, as experts currently studying on the virus will issue their peer-reviewed studies. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The government has already set parameters and guidelines when it comes to accepting COVID-19 vaccine donations. Rosalie Cos explains why.
The Philippines has more than enough vaccine supplies to reach the target number of 54 million Filipinos fully vaccinated before 2021 ends. To prevent vaccine wastage, the government is taking steps to avoid receiving COVID-19 vaccine donations that are not near the expiration date. According to Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, the COVID-19 vaccine cluster through National Task Force Against COVID-19, Chief Implementer and Vaccine SAR Secretary Carlito Galvez have been in coordination with vaccine manufacturers on vaccine donations to emphasize that vaccine donations should not be near the expiry dates. Though the Philippine government is grateful to vaccine donations, it does not want to have too much supplies that are close to expiring that will add pressure on them. Currently, the government is investigating the incident wherein around 14,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine have expired in Negros Occidental as local governments have allegedly refused to accept the supplies due to expiry issues. Based on a report, a total number of 146.48 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have arrived in the country. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The conduct of limited face-to-face classes in the country will continue despite the threat of the new COVID-19 variant Omicron. Janice and Henta will tell us why live. Yes, Janice?
Arlene, according to Department of Education Assistant Secretary Malcolm Garma, their decision will depend on health experts if there will be adjustments regarding physical classes.
Cue from the Department of Health. Kung una-una, we don't want to anticipate, no, or we don't want to preempt any entry, any possible entry of the Omicron virus, no, in the country. We'll get the advice from DOH.
Currently, nearly 300 schools from public and private schools are allowed to conduct physical classes. Today, over 2,000 students in 28 selected schools in Metro Manila returned to physical classes as the limited face-to-face classes in the National Capital Region begins. In Pasig Central Elementary School, students and teachers strictly follow the health protocols set by DepEd and Department of Health. Students go through temperature checks, disinfection station, and foot bath before entering the classroom.
Well, if ever magkaroon ng COVID case sa mga bata, titigil muna natin. Sa ngayon, wala pa naman. Sa lungsod ng Pasig, nasa 34 na lang ang active cases. That's for the whole city. Meron din tayong mga health personnel na naka-standby sa mga schools. Kompleto naman tayo sa kagamitan.
In Comembo Elementary School in Makati City, the school prepared markings for physical distancing, while Makati LGU put up air purifiers in every classroom and free transportations for students who will attend physical classes.
Pagdating nila sa classroom ay mas safe pa sila doon dahil meron tayong UVC at saka dalawang heavy duty air purifier para masigurong ligtas ang mga bata sa virus. Sa jeep ni Maki, merong pick-up point which is nandoon sa barangay. Ihahatid sila ng mga parents nila doon and then ihahatid din sila dito sa school and then pag-uwi, pag-dismissal, nakaabang na si jeep ni Maki dyan sa labasan. Walking distance at saka may kanya-kanyang sasakyan.
In Quezon City, students and teachers of Payatas B Annex Elementary School and Bagong Silangan Elementary School were subjected to antigen tests to ensure they are negative of COVID-19. In addition to the schools mentioned, physical classes have also started in other cities in Metro Manila, as well as some other schools in different regions outside NCR. Arlene, the pilot run is expected to end this December and its expansion is expected to begin in January 2022. Arlene?
Thank you, Janice and Henta, reporting live from Quezon City.
As quarantine classification in the country eases to alert level 2, the Department of the Interior and local government has allowed company parties this holiday season. The department, however, warns safety seals of venues might be revoked. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
Establishments failing to follow minimum health and safety protocols will have their safety seals revoked and business permits suspended.
Kasi kung hindi ito susunod ang mga establishments na magiging host nitong mga Christmas parties na ito, ay pwede pong i-revoke ang safety seal nila o kaya naman isuspende ang kanilang business permit for failing to follow IATF rules and regulations.
DILG spokesperson Jonathan Malaya said company parties will be allowed this holiday season as long as the guidelines of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases are followed. Based on the policy of the IATF, capacity for venues in areas under Alert Level 2 are at 50%, additional 10% if the establishment where the parties will be held has a safety seal.
Kung Alert Level 2 po ang isang lugar, yung mga ganyang klaseng Christmas parties is 50% capacity of the venue and plus 10% of the venue if may safety seal yung lugar na yon. So, and besides the venue capacity, ay kailangan pong sumunod sa minimum public health standards. Kailangan po lagi naka-face mask at lagi pong may social distancing.
For the Department of Health, outdoor activities during holiday season parties are recommended instead of celebrating indoors. The Health Department reiterates individuals have higher risk of getting infected indoors where there is less air ventilation. For outdoor venues, hand sanitizing stations must be placed and the minimum health and safety protocols, such as wearing a face mask and physical distancing, must be strictly followed. DOH, however, clarified that people can still celebrate indoors as long as the windows and doors, including fans, are open for better air circulation.
Ngayong pong Kapaskuhan ay sulitin na po natin yung malamig na simoy ng hangin at papasukin natin yung hangin upang maproteksyon na rin tayo at maiwasan ang pagkahawa sa COVID-19. At kung naka-aircon ba, mas mainam na may HEPA filters para sa dagdag na proteksyon para sa inyong mga kasama, kaibigan at kapamilya.
The Philippine National Police also recommended to limit the celebration to family members.
The PNP discourages the holding of traditional Christmas gathering among family members, co-workers, schoolmates, and circle of friends while the threat of COVID-19 and its variants continue to raise public health concerns.
But the health department still says online or virtual gathering is still better to prevent direct contact and possible exposure to COVID-19. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippines today logged 543 more cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally of confirmed infections to 2,835,154. The Department of Health, or DOH, said the latest count brought the country's active cases to 13,548. Of these cases, 5,545 are mild, 3,898 are moderate, 2,366 are severe, 1,063 are symptomatic, and 676 are in critical condition. Meanwhile, total recoveries rose to 2,772,107 after 830 more patients recovered from the disease. COVID-related deaths, however, climbed to 49,499 with 113 new fatalities. All accredited testing laboratories in the country were operational on December 4, but 5 laboratories failed to submit data on time, the DOH noted in its report. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has reached 265,871,477, while the deaths have surged to 5,256,038, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is the worst-hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 49,885,383 and 788,364 respectively. In terms of infections, India follows with 34,641,561 cases and 473,537 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes third with 615,636 fatalities. The Commission on Elections says any aspirant or official candidate can withdraw even beyond the election day. Dante Amento tells us why live. Yes, Dante, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. Comelec spokesperson Director James Jimenez discloses the poll body did not set a deadline for withdrawal of aspirants or candidates. Anyone can withdraw his candidacy at any time, even after the elections.
Until before proclamation, he can withdraw. Kasi the elections are over with proclamation, right? And even before, if the minute before proclamation he withdraws, then all of the results will just take that withdrawal into consideration.
Jimenez clarified this when asked about the situation of Senator Bongo. Go has not yet formally filed his COC withdrawal for presidential bid after his announcement to withdraw last Tuesday. But Jimenez also stressed that the prolonged uncertainty of a person whether to run or not is not conducive to orderly elections.
We would hope that candidates understand that there is no good to be done to the system or to the Filipino people by dragging out things like that.
Meanwhile, William, in a statement, Senator Go stands firm over his position not to continue running. He urged all his supporters not to flock to the Comelec and consider him already not a candidate. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Dante Amento, reporting live from Quezon City.
Commission on Elections spokesman James Jimenez confirmed the 2 disqualification cases recently filed against presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos raffled to the Comelec First Division today. These petitions were filed by Akbayan and NCMF Commissioner Abubakar Mangelen, respectively, last week. Currently, there are 8 pending complaints against Marcos before Comelec. 4 petitions seek to cancel his COC, 3 disqualification cases, and 1 petition seeking to declare him as nuisance candidate.
The Philippine National Police will follow Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto's order on the removal of election paraphernalia in public places. But this must have the authority of the Commission on Elections. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police has consulted with the Commission on Elections or Comelec and the Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG regarding requests from public officials or candidates to take down election paraphernalia displayed in various places. This is the reaction of the PNP on Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto's request on the removal of all campaign materials in the public property of Pasig.
We hear the call of some local government officials na tanggalin ang mga campaign materials sa mga public area. But PNP Chief General Generaldo Carlos vows to assist only if may go signal na tayo from the Commission on Elections.
Police Colonel Alba said the PNP wanted to maintain the neutrality and being apolitical.
Lahat po ng hakbang natin must have the consent ng Comelec kasi may sariling election guideline po tayong sinusunod. We vow to be neutral in any way that we can.
But Alba ensures that PNP will not allow of campaign materials to be posted on police stations and offices. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Health urged political candidates to avoid holding events such as campaign sorties that may result in overcrowding. JP Nunez details why.
Amid the continuous threat of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant, the Department of Health raises concern about overcrowding as politicians visit different parts of the country for an early campaign even before 2022 campaign period. The department says this might be a super spreader event and appeals to politicians to avoid large crowds.
Kaya kami po nananawagan kami ulit sa ating mga opisyalis, sa atin po mga kumakandidato para sa darating na eleksyon, sana po wag ho tayo mag-hold ng mga gatherings o mga events na alam natin that will cause overcrowding and this might cause infections in the coming days or weeks.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government says political rallies are not allowed and politicians should wait until the official campaign period in February and March. DILG says there are politicians, both national and local, staging political rallies, gathering hundreds or thousands of people. Despite the decreasing active cases of COVID-19 in the country, candidates, political parties, and supporters should not be complacent. However, caravans or motorcades are allowed as long as crowds will abide with the minimum public health standards and the activity will be subjected upon the approval of the local government units. Commission on Elections said politicians are not exempted from the IATF rule. They should not endanger the lives of their supporters.
Dapat pinapatupad na ngayon ng IATF at ng kapulisan. So, wag nating iisipin na exempted ang mga politiko, sakop pa rin sila ng rules na yan. Nagpapaalala ang Comelec, wag ninyong i-endanger ang inyong mga supporters. Because that's what you're doing. Okay? Just so that you can get your crowds, just so that you can get your photo ops, you are endangering the lives of Filipinos who believe in you.
The official campaign period will begin next year on February 8 for national post and March 25 for local elected positions including members of the House of Representatives. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
With 189 lawmakers voting in favor, the House of Representatives passed House Bill 9981, seeking to declare the maritime zones under the jurisdiction of the Philippines in accordance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. The bill aims to proclaim the maritime zones of the country in order to establish the legal basis by which social, economic, commercial, and other activities may be conducted. Under the bill, the various maritime zones include internal waters, archipelagic waters, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, and continental shelf. In the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations has started to tackle its similar measures. The panel is also set to discuss the resolution condemning the Ayungin Shoal incident where Chinese Coast Guard ships water cannoned Philippine supply vessels. According to the Department of Foreign Affairs, the country has filed 241 diplomatic protests against China since the beginning of the Duterte administration. Of these, 152 were responded by China, reiterating their position. For 2021 alone, 183 diplomatic protests have been filed, including the daily protests for the continued presence of Chinese vessels in the country's maritime zones, such as Pag-asa Island and Julian Felipe Reef. For maritime law expert Professor J. Batong Bakal, the filing of diplomatic protests helps in formalizing the position of the Philippines against the incursion in the West Philippine Sea.
It actually neutralizes some of the more careless and reckless statements made by other government officials on this issue, because it is really the formal written protest that officially expresses the real position, the real legal and political position of the country, and not some careless statements made at midnight press conferences.
For security analyst Professor Romel Banlawi, the filing of diplomatic protest has a strategic importance, but it is not enough. The next hearing of the Senate panel is set on December 14.
The Bureau of Jail Management and Penology are carefully reconsidering allowing visitation to persons deprived of liberty. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
Most of the persons deprived of liberty have already been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, while high vaccination rate has been recorded among the general public across the country. With this, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology prepares for the possible re-implementation of no-contact visitation to PDLs. BJMP spokesperson Jail Chief Inspector Xavier Solda explains that family visitation plays an important role for the PDL's mental health.
No, napakahirap po kasi para sa amin din na papalapit na yung Pasko, magiging ikalawang taon na po ito na walang contact visitation sa mga jail facilities po natin.
With one COVID-19 case left among the PDLs, the BJMP considers all measures in re-implementing the visitation policy to avoid the spread of the virus. This include allowing no-contact visitation only in facilities located in low-risk areas identified by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases. Only one member of the family will be allowed to visit for a maximum of 1 hour. Visitors are required to present their vaccination card and a valid government ID.
Tinitingnan ho namin yung mga dapat naming ihanda sa mga jail facilities namin, particular yung facility kung saan gagawin yung non-contact visitation.
Electronic visitation or e-DALO services meanwhile will continue to be implemented in high-risk areas. As for the Bureau of Corrections, they are carefully reconsidering its re-implementation, especially after attaining zero COVID-19 cases. Bucor spokesperson Assistant Secretary Gabriel Chaklag says they were supposed to already allow it but retracted its plan due to the threat of the Omicron variant of COVID-19.
Sa ngayon po, sa guidance siguro ng IATF, doon tayo mag-base ng ating informed decision. Kung ano po yung sasabihin nila dahil may musbong na bago na namang variant, ay tatalima po tayo.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Former Senator and presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos seems to disagree with the implementation of rice tariffication law. Meanwhile, Mayor Isko Moreno expresses his support for President Rodrigo Duterte's senatorial bid. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
During the Agri 2022 online forum, presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos lamented the impact of rice importation on local farmers. He said while rice importation can aid in times of crisis, such a move ravages local agriculture.
I understand that during the crisis, during the pandemic, that our government decided to use importations to maintain the price of rice. Okay, that's been effective. The problem with importation and the rice tariffication law is that it ravages the local agri.
Presidential hopeful Manila Mayor Isko Moreno said he is looking to adopt President Rodrigo Duterte as a guest candidate of Action Democratico alongside his three-man senatorial slate. Moreno said he will personally vote for President Duterte.
I'm going to vote for him personally, and I'm going to endorse him, hopefully, kung papayag siya. I'll be honored. I'll be humbled and honored na umuwi si Pangulong Duterte. Nakuha ko nga siyang iboto, hindi ko pa ba siya makuha ang i-adapt.
Moreno is now in Cebu to meet his supporters. Vice President Leni Robredo today visited Baguio City and graced the flag-raising ceremony. She said she was reluctant to join the morning event because she is running for president. VP Robredo in her speech pays tribute to frontliners.
I am giving tribute to the men and women, all the successes that Baguio City has achieved over the years. Alam ko po na kayo yung isa sa mga best performing na mga LGUs as far as contact tracing is concerned, as far as vaccination is concerned.
Labor leader Leody de Guzman headed to Manicani Island in eastern Samar to draw the attention of the nation to the effect of large-scale mining. According to de Guzman, the said mining activities destroys the environment and sustainable livelihood of communities. According to him, destructive mining should be stopped because it endangers the lives of citizens. Meanwhile, presidential aspirant Senators Panfilo Lacson, Manny Pacquiao, and Senator Christopher Bongo, who announced his withdrawal from the presidential race, attended the Senate session this afternoon. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For the news abroad, a court in Myanmar has sentenced the country's deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 4 years in jail. A spokesman for Myanmar's military told the AFP news agency on Monday that Aung San Suu Kyi was found guilty of incitement and of violating COVID-19 rules. The ruling on Monday is the first in a dozen cases the military has brought against the 76-year-old since it deposed her civilian government in a coup on February 1. The trial in Naypyidaw has been closed to the media, while the military has barred Aung San Suu Kyi's lawyers from communicating with the media and the public. At least 14 people are dead and several are still missing after a deadly eruption of the highest volcano on Indonesia's most densely populated island of Java. Joselito Liquido reports why. Good evening, Joselito.
Good evening, Elsie. Indonesia's Mount Semeru spewed more ash today, forcing rescuers to suspend the search for survivors. The tallest mountain of the island of Java erupted dramatically on Saturday, shooting a towering column of ash into the sky that blanketed surrounding villages. Indonesia's Disaster Mitigation Agency have evacuated some 1,300 people to rescue shelters equipped with food, face masks, tarpaulins, and body bags. A villager in Kampung Renteng recalled the incident and said 10 people were carried away by the mud. Rain was also coming down during the eruption that locals mistook to hot mud flow for flooding. Authorities said that at least 14 people have died, 56 were injured, and are currently being treated at various hospitals and medical facilities. Some relatives of the victims say they haven't collected the bodies of their loved ones yet, as bodies have not been identified. Meanwhile, the head of the Semeru Volcano Observatory warns residents to be more vigilant as the potential of another threat is still there. Elsie?
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, live from Malaysia. As tensions begin to escalate between the U.S. and Russian nation, the two presidents, Biden and Putin, will hold a video conference on Tuesday to discuss their concerns. Marvi Delphine will tell us the details live. Marvi, go ahead.
Elsie, talks about a potential invasion by Russia have recently arose with the buildup of Russian soldiers along the Ukrainian border. With his concerns, U.S. President Joe Biden reached out to President Vladimir Putin to navigate through topics on the issue.
We want to make sure that we are prepared. We know what President Putin has done in the past. We see that he is putting in place the capacity to take action in short order, and should he decide to invade, that is why we want to be prepared and in an area we have expressed serious concern about.
Putin has since then agreed to the call and will also present his own concerns, going against any action which will admit Ukraine into the NATO military alliance. Currently, there are around 70,000 troops deployed near the border of Ukraine, U.S. intelligence officials say, and this has been labeled as groundwork for a possible invasion. However, President Biden states that he will make it very difficult for Putin to do what he intends.
The president is somebody who believes in leader-to-leader diplomacy. It certainly would be an opportunity to discuss our serious concerns about the bellicose rhetoric about the military buildup that we're seeing on the border of Ukraine.
Officials of Ukraine are now saying that the supposed invasion by Russia are happening sooner, with newly appointed Defense Minister Oleksiy Rezkinov claiming it can all happen and escalate as early as the end of January next year. Meanwhile, the U.S. administration is currently in communication with European partners and allies, consulting topics regarding any action and sanctions required to be taken. Elsie?
Thank you, Marvi Dolphin, live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
Good news to motorists. Several oil firms announced a big-time rollback in local pump prices of petroleum products is set to be implemented tomorrow, December 7. In separate advisories, Philippines Shell Petroleum Corporation, Chevron Philippines Incorporated or Caltex, and Sea Oil Philippines Incorporated said they will slash the prices per liter of gasoline by 2 pesos and 40 centavos, diesel by 2 pesos and 65 centavos, and kerosene by 2 pesos and 70 centavos. Clean Fuel also said it will implement the same price changes except for kerosene. The price adjustment will take effect on Tuesday, December 7. Other oil firms have yet to make similar announcements. And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 5, verses 3 to 4, it says, "And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope." Those are the reasons behind the news, December 6, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
We take our cue from the Department of Health. Kung una-una, we don't want to anticipate, no, or we don't want to preempt any entry, any possible entry of the Omicron virus, no, in the country. We'll get the advice from DOH.
Until before proclamation, he can withdraw. Kasi the elections are over with proclamation, right? And even before, if the minute before proclamation he withdraws, then all of the results will just take that withdrawal into consideration.
I'm going to vote for him personally. I'm not going to endorse him. Hopefully, kung papayag siya, I'll be honored. I'll be humbled and honored. Na upo si Pangulong Duterte, nakuha ko nga siyang iboto, hindi ko pa ba siya makuha ang i-adapt.